Amazon hasn't exactly been known as a model employer, with horror stories about long shifts, relentless pressure, and delivery drivers having to pee in bottles to meet their quotas. But after tornadoes hit several states Friday, killing more than 70 people, including 6 at an Amazon warehouse in Illinois, workers and their families are speaking out about not just unfair, but unsafe working conditions.
They told us that they couldn't leave. My dad wanted to leave at 8:20. That tornado didn't touch down for almost 20 minutes later. He could have been home.
Amazon has said its team at the warehouse worked quickly to get everyone to their designated shelter-in-place site once they got the tornado alert. But some workers say they got conflicting information about where to go. Others say they weren't told about an alert at all. And now the Occupational Safety and Health Administration is investigating. Is the solution unionization? A recent effort at an Alabama warehouse failed, but the National Labor Relations Board just ordered a new vote after they found illegal behavior by the company. Here in Boston, the local chapter of the International Teamsters Union has been sounding the Amazon alarm for quite a while. At the helm has been my next guest, Sean O'Brien, a fourth-generation Teamster who once worked as a rigger before taking over as president locally in 2006. Then last month, he was elected president of the 1.4 million member International Union, after which he laid out his vision for the job, telling reporters, according to the Boston Globe, quote, "The most corrupt people in America are not unions. They're corporate America, where they try and take advantage of our members day in and day out. That is going to end under our leadership." Sean O'Brien joins me now. Sean, congratulations on your victory.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Now, you didn't just win. You won by a landslide against the guy who was endorsed by Hoffa Jr. Why did you win? What do you see as your mandate, Sean?
Well, I think the one thing is everybody sees how we run Local 25, how we run New England, and we're a model for the entire United States and Canada. And, it's a new generation of workers. There's a new enthusiasm to organize the unorganized. There's a new enthusiasm to fight. And we've been doing that for decades in Local 25 and the last 15 years under our leadership at Local 25. So I think that our style and our ability to organize and our ability to get things done have resonated nationwide. So I think that was a lot of the influence on why the election went our way so well. Plus, we put together a great team, very diverse team. So I think our members, our rank and file members spoke, and they spoke loudly, and now we just have to perform.
And as I've said, in your campaign, one of the pledges you made was to bring unions to the non-unionized Amazon. Why do you think you can succeed where others have failed? There's not one unionized warehouse for Amazon in the whole country.
Well, I think 15 years ago, Amazon started out as a 20-person employee book club. Now they're almost a 500,000 employee global economy. The landscape has changed. We have an obligation as Teamsters to uphold community standards, and those community standards are with the United Parcel Service Agreement, the DHL agreement, and we've got to make certain that we take care of our members that are working there, but also organize the unorganized at Amazon. We can show you a contract that's guaranteed health insurance, retirement, all kinds of working conditions, and we know those workers at Amazon deserve the best. And there is an appetite to organize.
Yeah, but one of the obstacles, it's interesting to talk about those contracts, Sean, was stated by you yourself at a debate with your then opponent at the National Press Club in September. Here you are.
If we're negotiating concessionary contracts and we're negotiating substandard agreements, why would any person want to join the Teamsters Union?
And that's how you describe the most recent Teamster contract with UPS. So why would someone want to join a union that negotiated that kind of contract?
Well, look, I think first and foremost, UPS agreement covers 350,000 Teamsters in the United States. The last contract, there were concessions that were given that weren't necessary. But the reality of it is, and if you play that part a little bit more, that in order for us to sell our product to any non-union worker, whether it's in the UPS agreement or any agreement, we have to negotiate the strongest contracts with the least amount of concessions, with the most amount of protections. And that's what we're going to do under our administration. That is going to be our marketing tool to go to these unorganized workers and say, look, this is what you get in similar industries when you work under a unionized contract.
It seems to me one of the strategies you've used in this region pretty successfully, Sean, I'll call it being an Amazon expansion disruptor. You've worked with local governments, including Boston, for example, to make sure, well, you fill in the blanks for me. That has been part of the strategy in this region, has it not?
Yeah, it's been part of the strategy in the region, and hopefully we're going to take it to a national level where we are going into the cities and towns where Amazon is putting a footprint or attempting to put a footprint for distribution facilities and letting them know, about this independent contractor model that are delivering the packages that, aren't governed by any type of hiring practices or drug testing or anything else. But also we're engaging the politicians so that they understand that their constituents that are working in these facilities aren't treated properly. So, it's a concerted effort. It's nothing that's going to happen overnight, but it's just about educating the public, engaging the politicians, and also these community groups as well.
You know this probably better than anybody. This effort by major employers in this country to consider everybody an independent contractor so that they don't have to worry about unions and that sort of stuff hasn't escaped Amazon. That's what they're doing with their drivers. How do you confront that problem? The warehouse is one thing, drivers another. How do you deal with the independent contractor issue?
Well, the warehouse is one thing because they're direct employees.
Sure.
So we've got, the ability to organize the independent contractor models throughout the United States. I mean, we've got to change the laws. We've got to influence these politicians. It's not just Amazon, it's the Uber, it's the Lyfts, it's the gig economy, where we've got to, change these laws to make certain that we are being able to organize these industries. They are bound by policies and procedures by a lot of these companies. And look, the reason why these companies and these corporations go the independent contractor model, all they care about is the bottom line of a balance sheet. Yeah. There's no pride or anything else. There's no appreciation for the workers that are making them a success.
Speaking of changing laws and elected leaders respecting unions and workers' rights, I can't think of a president in my lifetime who has spoken more openly of his support for unionization than this one. And there's a Secretary of Labor who you may know who comes from sort of down the street from you. Have you spoken to Secretary Walsh at all about these concerns about unjust laws that stand in the way of free and fair elections for unions in this country?
Yeah, Secretary Walsh and I are good friends. As a matter of fact, I took a plane to Washington, D.C. with him this morning.
Oh, you did?
We've been speaking quite frequently recently. We settled a contract dispute with Keolis in Nevada together. We also have been talking about supply chain solution issues, but more importantly, Amazon. And look, Amazon is going to be a most formidable opponent to the Teamsters Union, but I think to any union in general. Secretary Walsh is well aware of it. He's very helpful. And you're right, this administration has been a pro-union administration. I mean, I think you saw right off the bat with the Americans Recovery Act, when they fixed pensions nationwide to make sure that they're solvent for the next 30 years. So it's been a pleasure, but we also have to strike while the iron's hot. And there could be a change in the legislature and Congress and Senate. So we're going to make sure that we take advantage of any opportunity to make organizing that much easier and to continue a pro-worker America.
So when you leaned over to Secretary Walsh on the plane and said, "Are you running for governor?" what did he say to you, Sean?
I didn't have that conversation with him. I'm figuring I'll let him answer the other people that are more curious than I am. I'm just focused on the labor movement and rebuilding the middle class.
Yeah, I'll believe that next week. So Sean O'Brien, there are some other existential threats, it seems to me, that you face as the newly installed president. You have a significant percentage of truck drivers in this country are not unionized. The advent of self-driving vehicles. What's the strategy on those fronts?
Well, I mean, the Teamsters Union is not an advocate for self-driving vehicles. I mean, there's this big, sexy appeal to have platooning tractor trailers going up and down our infrastructure. 240,000 pounds. It's a safety issue, but it's a job killer. So we will fight that at every turn, whether it's legislatively or physically. I mean, the Teamsters control the four major modes of transportation. So I think we can collaborate and fight against that. Plus, the reality of it is we're about creating jobs, creating opportunities. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about the supply chain solution problem in the United States and getting the imports into the ports. But, if we look back 10 or 15 years, if we kept creating products in America, we may not be in this problem we're in right now. Yeah. So we've got to focus on that as well.
You know, it's hard to find anything good out of this nightmare pandemic, but one of the few good things is there is a dramatically improved view of unions by the public, as you know. But on the flip side, you also know that only 6% of the private workforce in this country is in unions. Is there an image problem? There isn't. There is an image problem with organized labor. How do you plan to help fix that?
Well, I think, everything goes back to what you've done locally. When I took over Local 25 in 2006, they said there was an image problem there. We cleaned up our act. We became one of the second largest fundraisers for Autism Speaks in the country. We've reinvested in the communities. I think we need to do that nationwide as well. I think during the pandemic, we proved our value, providing goods and services, whether it was delivering e-commerce, delivering groceries, making certain that stores were, shelves were stocked, trash was being picked up. But, the public doesn't forget, and they appreciate that. But, during the pandemic, corporate America, a lot of these companies we worked for, they were singing our praises, but when it comes time to pay our members and reward our members, they forget fast. And, again, we become victim to the bottom line of a balance sheet. I think, you've seen over the last several months, there's been a lot of strikes. There's been a lot of labor disputes, and I think people are fed up. And, I think that's part of the way we're going to change our image, to show that we are valuable, that we do provide goods and services, and that we do keep this country moving. So I think that image is going to take care of itself. Look, we can't pay for the sins of the past of 1940 and 50. We're in 2021. So all we can do is look forward and move forward.
It's rare that I've been to a union meeting where someone hasn't said, "United we stand." About 15 years ago, the Teamsters left the AFL-CIO. Is there any thought on your part of rejoining at some point?
Look, I think everything's on the table at this point in time. We work with the AFL-CIO quite intimately, even though we're not members. I think whatever's in the best interest of our members moving forward, whatever in the best interest of the labor movement, we're going to take a look at all kinds of affiliations and look to see if they're beneficial. And if they are beneficial to our members and the cause, then we'll definitely reaffiliate.
Sean O'Brien, last thing for you. What will be the first sign where your members will see and the public will see that there's a new kind of leader in town of the Teamsters?
March 22nd, when we take over, there's going to be a lot of changes. We're going to gear up for our largest negotiation, which is UPS, United Parcel Service. We're going to create an organizing and education department second to none. So there's going to be immediate changes as soon as we take over March 22nd.
Sean O'Brien, I wish you a lot of luck. Congratulations. That was a big victory, and I hope for great things. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.